Play.
Well, hello. This is WTA Weekly, and it's the eve of the French Open, Roland Garros, as it should be called. I'm very excited. Everything kicks off tomorrow, and I'm here. We've got a very, very exciting women's draw to look at. But you're probably wondering who's coming on. Who's going to be chatting WTA tennis with Nick today? Well, I'm very pleased that it's going to be the one, the only, Mr. Talking Tennis himself. It's John Silk, everybody. John, how are you? You're on mute, mate.
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad, Nick. Just chilling on the balcony, as you can see. Hopefully you can hear me loud and clear.
Yeah, I can definitely.
What do you think about the look, by the way? Is it summery enough?
It's very summery. I'm glad that the weather in Germany is as summery and sunny as it is in the UK at the minute. It's been sort of something that we've been looking forward to a lot over here. And I think Germany's also a good place to enjoy it. So, yeah, you look ready for the European tennis summer.
Yes, very much so. We'll be doing these as well, I think. Nick won't be up until Wimbledon. We'll obviously have a couple of weeks off now. Well, we won't be having a couple of weeks off, Nick. We'll be pretty intense throughout the tournament, but we won't do a WTA Weekly probably until the Monday or something like that after the French Open, when maybe I'll find you a better guest than you've got today.
I find it difficult to believe that we'll have better guests than whoever's honking their horn in the background.
Anyway. I think it adds to the atmosphere.
I think, look, this driver clearly wants to put his thoughts on the women's draw, but we've had a few little interesting bits of news over the last week or so. Obviously, the last couple of tournaments, these tournaments happening in Rabat and in Strasbourg are kind of seems very much as warm-ups for those not doing qualifying.
Nick, can you just give us a little bit of just give us a 1 or 2 minute highlights on those two tournaments? I mean, who's still in, who's winning, who's not winning?
Yeah, so I think if I just want to make sure I get this right, so bear with me.
No problem.
But I believe so. The final in Strasbourg is between Alina Svitolina, back from maternity leave, and absolutely. Like already finding form. Like she's been back for about a month, and she's already in the final of a WTA 250, and she's playing Anna Blinkova, and that match is literally just getting underway.
I think that bodes well, actually. I mean, Svitolina is someone who's barely won a match since she's returned, so that's cool. I see Ghosty's already joined us. Who's the sunglasses wearing dude to your left? He looks like trouble.
I don't know. It's just this randomer that John found on the street because we didn't have a guest today.
Yeah, well, you should have introduced me as Jean Soalk or something like that.
Can you do a French accent?
Not really, no. I can do an Italian one, but let's not offend our Italian viewers today. Not least, anyway. Not today. Not until I've had Mario and Damien's ATP Weekly, which will be coming up tonight.
Yes, which it should be very, very good content because there's a lot discussed on the ATP side as well. And then the final in Rabat, which has literally just gone to a deciding set, is between Julia Grabher and Lorenz and Lucia Bronzetti. Speaking of Italians. So nice sort of drama happening in Morocco right now. But yeah, I think there's not been a lot to say from those tournaments. The only kind of notable thing was Sloane Stephens. She actually made the semi-finals, and everyone was talking about maybe she's starting to find a bit of form before losing to Bronzetti in the Rabat semi-finals, but she got a good win over Peyton Stearns in the quarters. That was one worth noting. And then other than that, it was just a few mid-tournament retirements, not least probably the highest profile being Martina Trevisan, which is probably most likely to be prepared for the Roland Garros draw.
Okay, so she's okay. But we have had 1 or 2 withdrawals this week. I mean, Paula Badosa has to get a mention, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, she was in my power ranking as an honorable mention. And she she could have made it, and I thought she seems to be building some momentum back to maybe where she was, getting back to the top 20. That's where I kind of put her form, and unfortunately she suffered a basically a stress fracture in her spine that's going to put her out for a while.
A few weeks is what she said in her social media post.
She's likely to miss Wimbledon as well, I suspect.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I suspect that. So that's a pity. Have we had any other high-profile withdrawals?
Not from Roland Garros.
No. So Trevisan, though, you think is kind of like preparing her for Roland Garros, basically, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. Especially since she's actually got quite a tricky first round, if I find it. Yeah, her first round is actually against Elina Svitolina, which is that's going to be
Trevisan against Svitolina.
First round.
Okay, that's cool. I mean, I think if it wasn't for her recent success in this 250, I would put Trevisan through with consummate ease. But now I'll have to think about it. I actually have done my ATP video predicting every match. That will be posted any moment, I think, or sometime this afternoon. I'm going to try and squeeze in a WTA one, which probably I should have done before this show, and then you could have pulled me apart. Instead, Nick, though, I can maybe talk to you a little bit about your power ranking, if it's okay.
Yes, I tweeted your reaction to when you first saw my power ranking, when I first shared it with you, and it was a very much a face.
Exactly. Well, listen, what I'm going to do right now, Nick, is I'm going to remind the viewers by playing a 20-second clip showing your power rankings, okay?
Okay.
And we're back by the wonders of modern technology, Nick. What do you think about that 20-second clip? It took me about 5 minutes to put that together, by the way.
That's pretty good for a 5-minute job, John. This is why you are the man of talking tennis.
Nick,
I loved it.
Good, Nick. Where shall I begin? I mean, number one, we can just move on. Number 2 and 3, I think, is was that difficult for you to come to the conclusion, or were you quite convinced about that?
I did sit down.
Let's put the draw to one side, because obviously we're doing this without knowing.
I did this before the draw. I mean, to be honest, I'm going to say this now. Even with the draw, I wouldn't swap them.
Okay.
The way it is.
Yeah.
So I've thought about it, and I think I kind of went into it going, okay. Sabalenka, Rybakina are the most likely to challenge Swiatek anywhere. They're going to have to be 2 and 3. It just made logical sense.
I think you're right, though. Listen, I want to talk to you about some of the ones I disagree on, but I do think Rybakina after Rome, I know there was a few retirements there, but I do find it, because as I say, really the idea of a power rankings anyway is it's not about the draw. I mean, we can all reevaluate and go, oh, Sabalenka's on one side and all the rest of it. But I think you're right. I think she does deserve to be. And I think I just don't know how far Sabalenka's going to go in this tournament. Honestly, she may well get to the final, given that she's on one half of the draw. But there's about 10 people that could knock her out. You know, that just with Sabalenka, I think it's less than 50-50 that she gets to the final. If she's there in the final, however, then I may reevaluate and we'll see who she's playing against. Iga, number 1, obviously. It's 4 and 5. Well, particularly 4 that I want to take you to task on. I think you're very, very optimistic with your take on Ons Jabeur.
Okay. Well, before I get to Ons, I'm going to say that for me, I agree with you on Rybakina over Sabalenka. I think Rybakina has much better Roland Garros and slow conditions pedigree than Sabalenka. That's why she's ahead, and also she has reached more finals. Jabeur, if you look at pure results and you say that it's not, and you
French Open first round, Nick. We'd have to look at the French Open.
Not counting last year in the fix.
Not counting. Okay.
Like I only care if you got to the semi-finals or further for them to get a result.
I like this new parameters that we're creating here, Nick, that I wasn't aware of.
Oh no. This is I will have to show you the spreadsheet someday. This is a spreadsheet I've had going for a couple of years, and this methodology I've had for a couple of years.
Okay.
So here's my thinking. So the power ranking was basically calculated based on results. Who got to the semi-finals or further last year? Who's been to a Roland Garros final in their career? Who's been to the last 16 at some point in their career? Who has got certain results throughout their career? Are they making their debut? Are they still relatively new to the tour? And then add in clay court results, and basically anyone who got to the last 16 in Rome, or quarterfinals in Madrid, semi-finals in Stuttgart, or the final in Charleston, got on the long list for the power ranking. Ons Jabeur won Charleston. She got to the semi-finals of Stuttgart. That is why she's above Krejcikova, because Krejcikova's results on paper, not as good as Jabeur. The injury complicates things. I think Jabeur was very unfortunate with her Rome draw. We didn't really get to see how her recovery's gone. I am fully confident that she will be fully fit in Roland Garros. And so based on that, based on results, based on how we know she can be on this surface, that French Open first round was actually probably due to a poor bounce back from Rome. She won't have that, the Rome final. She won't have that this time. That is why Ons Jabeur is ahead of Barbora Krejcikova. And yes, you're right. I'm optimistic, and I will fully admit that I am being optimistic, but I would rather be optimistic and be wrong than be pessimistic and be wrong.
I just think I think you're being very, what's the word? Yeah, optimistic about Ons Jabeur. Listen, for me, Ons Jabeur could also be in the final. I mean, we saw Iga, because she's on the same half as Sabalenka, I believe.
No, she's not.
Oh, she's not.
She's that makes the quarter as Rebekina.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, but I know the power rankings is draw yeah. Dependent or independent. Sorry, but still, I wouldn't be surprised if she goes out in the first couple of rounds. And for that reason, I would be surprised if Barbora Krejcikova goes out before meeting Iga in round 4. I wouldn't be surprised. And I think if Barbora's draw had been, and I know Barbora's results, by the way, sketchy. And but in the clay court season, but yeah, French Open pedigree, even with your parameters of only including semi-finals and beyond, well, she won it in 2021. She went out very early last year. I think it was in the first round, but she was struggling with health and issues. I think she had COVID. I'm not sure. In fact, I think she tested positive just after her match last year. So all sorts of things going on. Barbora, unfortunately, she just can't get out of this rut in terms of her world ranking of being about 10 to 15 in the world. And she keeps running into people in rounds 3 or 4. Rome was a disappointment. And that would, be a good argument for not putting her in your top 3 or 4. Yeah. I am probably someone who's been a bit committed on the Barbora train this year, both in Australia and then a couple of tournaments afterwards. Of course, in the tournaments afterwards, where she won in Dubai, it sort of came to fruition, but she hasn't quite been able to take that next step since then. I'm looking forward, though, to a potential round 4 clash between her and Iga. As somebody who is a little bit more in the Iga camp than perhaps I am in terms of where your affiliations lie, does she worry you, Barbora?
Yes, she does. I mean, the reason why Barbora is so high up my power ranking is that she is a French Open champion from 2021. It wasn't that long ago. We said at the beginning of the clay season, Krejcikova was probably the most likely to challenge Swiatek on this surface before we kind of saw how the clay season panned out. So here's what's concerning me. 1, Krejcikova's beaten Swiatek the last 2 times they played. Number 2, Iga Swiatek tends to have a dip around round 4 in a major. If you have a look at past, she had a wobble against Zhang Qinwen when she won Roland Garros last year. She had a wobble against Hule Niemeyer in the US Open, which she won. She got knocked out in the 4th round of the Australian Open the last couple. She had a bit of a wobble in the 4th round of the Australian Open a couple of times this year. Rebekina, Halep in the past, Bencic at the US Open 2021. There's a clear pattern. And so for me, Swiatek, I think Swiatek will lose a set against Krejcikova, and then it's anyone's guess who's going to win that match from there on out. I have been talking to Jack. He thinks that the conditions favour Iga on the whole. So that's giving me a little bit of optimism there. But yeah, that is a massive. If Swiatek beats Krejcikova, she will win Roland Garros.
Yeah.
If Krejcikova, she will win Roland Garros. Like no, but Krejcikova is going to be her main challenge, I suspect. But I wouldn't say that necessarily the opposite would happen. If Krejcikova wins that match, she's definitely going to win Roland Garros. So that's my take on it. I think that's a heavy banana skin for Swiatek, and I think Krejcikova's draw potential issues, but I also don't see anyone in form enough to trip her up. So yeah, for me, that's a toughie for Swiatek. I would still put her the favorite on balance, but it's like 75-25 at best.
Understood. We're just going to have a 60-second promo, Nick.
Okay.
Coming to you every evening, night, day, depending on where you are in the world, will be The Last Ball Drops. This will be a show on talking tennis as soon as that ball drops on the last match of the day, morning, afternoon, evening, or night at Roland Garros, probably on Philippe Chatrier. We will go live with a review of the day's play. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell. That way, as soon as we go live, you'll get the notification, you can come and join us, and you'll get to hear the thoughts of people such as Mario, Damien, Jack, Nick, many more, maybe even me from time to time. You know the drill. Make sure you subscribe. See you soon.
I think the only disappointing thing about that promo is that you weren't saying you were on every night.
Oh, it will be every night, but I just don't know when I'll be on. I think we'll have Vanch and Damien presenting the first show on tomorrow night.
Oh,
by the way,
I meant you specifically, John.
Okay. By the way, I want to get into your thoughts on one match that's going to be coming up tomorrow. Can you guess which match it is?
Oh, has the order of play been released?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet. I've been out all morning.
Tomorrow, anyway. Well, can you imagine which women's first round match was the one from the draw where you went, whoa?
Okay. If it's the same as what everyone else is, it's Maria Sakkari against Karolina Muchova.
That's exactly the one I want to get your thoughts on. But for you, maybe there was one or two others, but for me, that was the one that stood out. And it stood out because, well, as you mentioned in your power ranking video, I do have a soft spot for Maria. And I'm very worried that she may be packing her suitcase as early as tomorrow evening.
This is a massive upset alert. One, Muchova beat her in round 2 last year. Two, Muchova's been making quarterfinals of 1,000 events, which indicates that she should go on a very strong run in a major. This could be a quarterfinal match, semi-final. They're both Grand Slam semi-finalists in their careers. So, yeah, that's a tough draw. I think that's definitely the big popcorn match for tomorrow, Sakkari and Muchova. And I definitely would have Sakkari on upset alert for that one. I think whoever gets through that's going to be heavy favorite to come through that quarter of the draw. Although having said that quarter of the draw is actually very, very open. It's a little chaotic. It could get very wild in this French Open.
I'm not even sure I would call it much of an upset, bearing in mind some of the points you made. But I know what you mean. She's a top 10 seed, I think, Sakkari. And did she make your power rankings top 10, by the way? Number 10, wasn't she?
Sakkari, yes, number 10. There was a bit of a battle for number 10. I thought Sakkari edged it for me on results.
Who was it between all the others that you just mentioned in your power rankings, or was it sort of?
I think it was between,
maybe.
Yeah, it was between her and pretty much all of the honourable mentions. I think the honourable mentions that kind of had a strongest chance of getting in were Pegula, Goff, and Kalinina.
Garcia, did even Garcia get an honourable mention? I'm not sure.
Nope,
she did.
Her results haven't been good enough.
Oh dear, harsh. Okay, listen, with Nick's power rankings tick, Muchova Sakkari tick. I'm now going to throw some names in your direction, very similar, or in fact identical, to a show we did at the beginning of the year, where I just basically threw names in the directions of various guests to give me a narrative, to give me a story or a path that will lead them to French Open glory. I don't know how many names I'm going to throw at you, maybe 4 or 5. I just want you to give me 30 to 60 seconds of how you can build a story that sees them lifting a trophy or lifting the trophy, I should say, in 2 weeks, pretty much exactly 2 weeks from now. Now, first I'm just going to say we're not going to do it for Iga because it's just too easy. Okay, so the first player I'm going to ask you about is.
This guy's random selection generator on here.
I'm actually just about to find a picture of them and put it on the screen. The first player I want to get your thoughts on, or to give me a path, and how she is going to win the French Open is Elena Rybakina.
Okay. Well, fortunately, Rybakina. Actually, I was going to say Rybakina is the favourite to get through her quarter, to get to the semi-finals. There will potentially be plenty of challenges on the way. She's got an interesting first round against Brenda Kvitova. She's got a potentially second round against Linda Noskova. That could be. I can see some banana skins in her draw, but let's just take the assumption that she overcomes those and she builds some momentum. She wins the rematch, potentially a rematch in the quarterfinals with Jabeur or whoever comes through Jabeur's section. The scenario where she wins, I think she is the only player that you're going to mention that doesn't really need to rely on Swiatek losing to Krejcikova. I think Rybakina does have the ability to push Swiatek on the surface. We saw that in Rome. That being said, do I think when it comes to it that if they do meet the semis, I think Swiatek will have the edge. But I also think that Rybakina could push her and upset her. So I think there's two options. Rybakina has an amazing day in the semis against Iga, or Iga loses to Krejcikova, in which case then it's Krejcikova running out of steam against Rybakina, who would then be the favourite in the final against pretty much anyone in the second half of the draw, in my eyes.
Fair enough. You can probably guess who my next one is. I don't know if you saw her appear on the screen.
I did.
Okay, let's go. Yelena Ostapenko.
She has the 2 weeks of her life, repeating 2017 French Open. Done. That's it. That's all it needs.
Okay, great. Yeah. I like it. Move on. Okay, next one on my list. Let's go with, this is a tough one. This is a really tough one. Maria Sakkari.
First of all, she has to beat Karolina Muchova. Then she needs to get through a section that involved people like Leylah Fernandez, and then Jessica Pegula potentially in the quarterfinals. All of those, however, I think after if Sakkari comes through the Muchova match, she could very well be fired up and already confident, and that's going to take I could see that taking her through to the semi-finals. Who would she play in the semi-finals? Vondrousova or Sabalenka, probably. And I could see a scenario where if Vondrousova is there, she's going to run out of gas. And I can see a scenario where Sabalenka gets there. Sakkari, for once, has the advantage because conditions much more favour her. So compared to other places they could meet. So I would say that Sakkari would have a very good chance of beating Sabalenka in that match, get to the final. Then what would happen? I think then she's then relying on her Krejcikova beating Swiatek and the rest of the top half of the draw falling apart, because I think a major final, we know what Sakkari's nerves are like. She's going to need to play someone else who's also nervous. Ideally not a major champion like Rybakina or Krejcikova. So it would depend on who comes through. It would depend on the top half of the draw descending into utter chaos. But that would be the path to Sakkari cracking it and becoming a major champion.
I like it. Well built, but just too many variables. But that's the nature of this game.
Yep.
Okay, one more. Aryna Sabalenka.
I think she's playing the wrong sport there. Sabalenka. Well, Sabalenka is very fortunate that she's got a very favourable draw in the second half. A lot of people who could knock her out very early on, who would be the biggest threats, are in the top half. I think for Sabalenka to win the title, she needs to get through her problem opponents efficiently, like Kostyuk in round 1, and Vondrousova potentially in the quarterfinals, maybe even Castella. And then she has to get through the semis. I think she'd be the favorite against most people in that bracket. And then it's again going to come down to who she faces in the final. Arina Sabalenka would be the favorite if she was playing someone like Krejcikova or maybe Krejcikova in the final. Maybe not Rybakina. I think she needs to rely on Rybakina losing. But basically, if she's playing anyone other than Swiatek or Rybakina, she's the favorite in that final, but only in that scenario.
Yep. I think it's probably a little easier to build a case this year for 2 or 3 of the next 2 or 3 favorites after Iga than probably last year, or even the year before, by the way, when Iga didn't win it. So yeah, but I think outside of 3 players, I mean, even when I'm talking about Barbora, I know that you could say, hey, what are you talking about with Barbora and all the rest of it? But so really, for many people, there is the big 3, and perhaps even in Roland Garros, a big 1. Nick, before we bring this show to a close, any final thoughts ahead of tomorrow?
It's specifically about tomorrow. Can I just say we have a absolutely glorious day of WTA tennis ahead. The day opens with Kostyuk versus Sabalenka. I actually have Sabalenka on a potential upset alert in that match.
Okay.
I think Kostyuk could bring it. Sakkari and Mukova is obviously second match on Suzanne Longland at the same time as Magda Linette and Leylah Fernandez, which is probably going to be a battle of who's not going to lose. And then you've got Elise Cornet against Camilla Giorgi on third on Philippe Chatrier. That's going to be a match full of aggro and attitude, which is going to be a lot of fun. And then the day ending on Suzanne Longland is Danielle Collins against Jessica Pegula. It's a match that we could get Ghosty on to commentate, although maybe not. That might get a bit messy. That's another upset alert because Collins has a habit coming out of a long layoff and hitting the ground running. Pegula should be worried about that one. So I think you've got 4 back-to-back WTA matches to open Roland Garros across the main stadiums to keep you entertained tomorrow. And I'm very, very excited. And that's not even before you go to the smaller courts. You've got on court 6, you've got Zidansek and Zhang, followed by Irani and Teichmann. Just as an example, Townsend and Potapova are playing on court 12. We've got a great day of WTA tennis tomorrow ahead of what will hopefully be an amazing tournament that will probably, I'm 75% sure will be won by Iga Swiatek, but we'll see.
All right. Thank you very much, Nick. Again, we'll be doing this show, as I say, in just over 2 weeks from now, where we might have a special guest, but we might not. We'll see. But we'll be doing plenty of shows over the next fortnight. Hopefully, we'll get to see Nick from time to time as well. We'll probably do 1 or 2 live commentaries, but really, we're going to be focusing a lot on these nightly shows after that last ball drops. Nick, well, you're hosting, so you should say thank you to me, right, for coming on your amazing show.
I mean, I don't know whose show it is anymore, to be honest. It's always been you as the ringmaster, John. And thank you for coming in and bringing a great show as always. And thank you to everyone watching for contributing and getting us to 2,000 subscribers, which is a massive milestone for us. So thank you so much, everyone. Keep tuning in. We've got lots of great content, as John's saying. I'm looking forward to being on 1 or 2 of these nightly shows coming up. And we'll see you over the course of this Roland Garros. Take care, everyone, and keep talking tennis.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.